All right, everyone, we're going to give people a few minutes to join. My name is Shaylin, and you are here today for the TCLAS Deep Dive Webinar Decision 8 on Strong Summer Supports. Hang tight, and we'll be with you shortly. All right, we are going to go ahead and kick it off. Welcome to the TCLAS Deep Dive Webinar on Decision 8, Strong Summer Supports. We are so glad you're here. Today, I will be leading the webinar with my colleague, Brian Doran. My name is Shayla Mastonio, and I'm a Summer Learning Project Manager, and I will let Brian come say hi too.
Hey everyone, my name is Brian Doran. I'm manager of the Additional Days School Year Initiative here at TEA. Excited to be talking with everyone today. Thanks for joining.
All right, so feel free to enter questions into the Q&A box throughout, and we will conduct a Q&A at the end. And don't worry, all of these materials will be posted on the TCLAS website, including today's slides and recording. Here's a brief look at our agenda. We are going to start today by recapping what is TCLAS, aside from another one of those famous TEA acronyms. All right, so TCLAS stands for Texas COVID Learning Acceleration Supports. And it's a targeted set of supports based around state and federal funding that are really worked around the learning acceleration framework. LEAs will have access to TCLAS funding and supports through a single application that mimics a formula grant. So no narrative response is required, no need for grant writers, easy budget calculations. Trust us when we say that we designed this application to be easy for everyone. It's an awesome way to get funding, and you can apply for up to 15 initiatives through just one application. So TCLAS, composed of three things. It's really $1.4 billion in services and supports available to districts. 15 TEA initiatives are combined in the application, and one district application. So as you can see, $1.4 billion, there's only 1,200 LEAs across the state of Texas. So that means if you apply for TCLAS, there's a really good chance that you're going to get access to some really substantial funding. So what exactly are the accelerated learning strategies in TCLAS? Well, TEA broke them down into five strategies in their strategic planning, instructional materials, teacher pipelines, more time, and innovative school models. This is what the TCLAS application is built around. We today are here to talk about summer, which essentially is more time in the classroom, more time for students most in need, including expanding instructional time into the summer and targeting tutoring. As you can see, these are all the different initiatives that fall under the various strategies included in TCLAS. Under more time, you have Decision 7 and Decision 8, Strong Summer Program, which we'll be talking about today. So buckle up, we are about to deep dive into Decision 8. There's going to be a plethora of information, but remember that this will all be posted online. Definitely great information to take back to district leadership. Strong summer programming. What exactly does that mean? How does it play into TCLAS? Well, what we've really seen here is historical drops in achievement during summer breaks. So in full transparency, this is a slide we used before COVID. This is just a traditional way the school year plays out. Student level achievement drops during the summer. This is commonly referred to as summer slide. If you look at the graph below, I find it really interesting. The green line represents a middle class student, K through 5th grade, And the blue line represents a low-income student, K through 5th grade. So as you can see, the middle-class student slowly gaining over the years, including in the summertime, where low-income students are really sliding during summer. Now, what does that really mean over time? The impact of summer slide may create up to a gap of 3 grade levels for low-income students by the 5th grade. Keep in mind, this is all pre-COVID data. So now we have COVID, which caused additional achievement setbacks. One way we measured that is through the 2021 STAAR results. For example, math achievement specifically saw a dramatic drop this past year, and obtaining a satisfactory score, as seen on the graph on the right, dropped by 16%. So here we really have a stage for, a challenging stage for educators, even the most talented educators. What do you do when you have these students that during the summer are sliding back, and now we have this crazy pandemic, which made everyone's learning, decline in some ways? Well, we're here because you're interested in leveraging summer as an opportunity to solve that problem. We think that's great. Summer really should be looked at as an opportunity to accelerate learning through implementing evidence-based strategies. What's an evidence-based strategy in terms of summer? Well, we have looked at evidence from the RAND Research Foundation, which is a nationally recognized institute that does work around evidence-based research and high-quality summer learning. And according to RAND, this is what a high-quality summer program looks like. It's free. It's 25 to 30 days of instructional learning, small classes, certified teachers, 3 hours of academics per day, enrichment every day, and then meals and transportation are covered. What does a program like that yield? Short-term gains in math were equivalent to about 15% of what students learned in math in a calendar year, which is pretty wild when you're considering the fact that it's 25 days during the summer. After 2 consecutive summers, students with high attendance, 20 or more days per summer, outperform their peers in academics and non-academics. And then students who received a minimum of 25 hours of math and 34 hours of ELA perform better on subsequent state math and ELA tests. So we're seeing summer as a way to not only get students learning, but to really accelerate learning here. So how do strong summer supports align with TCLAS? Well, in TCLAS Decision 8, it aligns LEAs with evidence-based research practices for summer and implements long-term ADSY funding. So it's 2 in 1. What Decision 8 really does in 2 parts is it allows you to have a strong summer planning process. And we'll talk about the who, what, when, and where behind that. And then it allows you to benefit from TEA's Additional Day School Year program called ADSY. Now, if you've never heard of ADSY, ADSY is a half-day formula funding program that allows schools to add instructional days if they already have an 180-day calendar up to day 210. So that's up to an additional 30 days you'll receive state funding for. And for us, in this instance, it would be days in the summer. So up to 30 days in the summer, that'd be ADSY days. Now, supports for TCLAS Decision 8 will be delivered through a grant. The grant is called ADSY PEP, Voluntary Summer Learning Program, as noted in yellow at the bottom. So what is the ADSY Planning and Execution Program? Track with me. So we started with Decision 8. Next, we talked about what's the problem with summer, what are we seeing in summer? We're talking about problem solving for summer. We got to ADSY, and now we're talking about ADSY Planning and Execution Program. ADSY PEP is a grant to help LEAs plan for a high-quality evidence-based summer program. Typically, ADSY PEP has 2 implementation options. The TCLAS Decision 8 really focuses on 1, and that's the voluntary summer learning option, designed around a strong summer support. So here are the components of the ADSY PEP Voluntary Summer Learning Program that you would receive in Decision 8. There's approved technical assistance vendors, which we're about to talk about in the next slide. We'll cover these next 3 in the next slide. but we'll highlight them here. An ADSY project manager and steering committee, you get to hire a project manager. And here's where TCLAS differs from just the standard ADSY PEP voluntary summer learning grant. It's support AC, which Texas has never had before. Operational funding to get to an 180-day instructional calendar. So even though these are the three main supports, they really walk you through the additional program benefits, which you get a technical assistance vendor to help you complete an ADSY strategic plan throughout the year, based around a summer learning framework, which TEA designed to help LEAs plan for summer. You'd create an annual reflection and revision document so that districts in this ADSY PEP VSL program would every year over the course of the 4-year grant go through a process where they're reflecting and revising their program set around continuous improvement. And lastly, being a part of the ADSY PEP voluntary summer learning grant allows participants to be in a cohort of a learning community, which all of our districts from Cycle 1 ADSY PEP VSL absolutely loved. It's a place where we bring industry experts to share around how to plan for summer and allows LEAs across Texas to band together and share best practices and ideas around summer programming. All right, so let's dive into the first support, approved technical assistance vendors. So with all of our educators, people are mainly focusing on fall through spring, right? Summer is kind of its own thing, which totally makes sense. And that's why Support 8A provides LEAs with the opportunity to hire a pre-vetted technical assistance provider. Think an industry expert education consultant you can call anytime to support your step-by-step planning process for a high-quality summer learning program. This graph on the right, it's the summer learning framework, the framework that TEA pulled together off of evidence-based research to help plan for a summer learning program that's high quality. Some of the topics include student recruitment. Obviously, this is important from a funding perspective. How do you get students and families excited about coming to summer? Staffing and PD, same for staffing and PD. And then as you can see, here's a detailed calendar of when you want to be planning through some of these things throughout the year. If you have an technical assistance provider, they'll help walk you through this program step by step, completing a strategic plan that walks you through each of these elements and helps you plan for a high quality program. Base funding of $50,000 plus $10K per campus in the planning year, which is significant. In the execution year is a funding of 50% of the planning year total. Below you can see we'll go back. There we go. You can see some of the approved technical assistance providers for Decision 8. These are nationally renowned technical assistance vendors in the education world. We've worked with all of them here at TEA and can attest that they're amazing. Next, in Support 8B, you would get funds to hire an ADSY project manager. Now, if you're coming to this webinar today with potentially a staff that's a little bit burned out from a long year and a long summer, and you're thinking, Shaylin, this sounds kind of cool, but at the same time, no one on my team has capacity to plan for summer, don't worry. TCLAS is really, Support 8B gives you money to designate or hire a half-time project manager to oversee your ADSY PEP program. So you can get funding to hire someone totally new to plan for summer. This person would be a liaison between the technical assistance vendors. So that would be one of their full responsibilities to plan for summer with that TA provider. And then they would oversee a ADSY PEP steering committee, which you can see in the graphic here, which is a steering committee designated at the LEA of, the right stakeholders that should be involved for planning for summer. Maybe someone in the finance department, maybe someone who specializes in enrichment, et cetera. Support 8B gives you base funding of $62,500 in the planning year and $62,500 in execution years, depending on funding availability. Support 8C is the option that we have never had before, and it's that operational funding to get to an 180-day instructional calendar. Now, working at TEA, working in summer, I have heard it said before, we have LEAs who are interested in doing ADSY, but They just don't have the funds. It's a little bit too tight to get to that 180-day instructional calendar. ADSY is exactly here for that. TCLAS helps fund LEAs to get to that 180-day number, and it gives you 5 days of funding per campus. So for example, you would take the total number of students enrolled at your participating campus or campuses, multiply it by 5 days of ADA funding, noting that that's about $52 per day for each student. So for example, if you're able to draw down on support 8C and you have an 100 student campus, you would receive about $26,000 to cover those 5 days to get you to that 180-day calendar that will qualify you for ADSY. This is huge for districts who this has been the #1 inhibitor of them getting ADSY funding. So we really want districts to leverage this 8C option. All right, so I just shared a lot of information about ADSY PEP, which is the strong summer support that TCLAS Decision 8 is funded through. Now I'm going to let you look at a timeline of what it would look like to if you actually got the grant. So the planning year for Decision 8 starts in 21-22, this coming fall. You would receive a notification around September if you got access, and we would have a kickoff summit for our Cycle 2 cohort. There would be a few workshops in the fall, which would help you walk through your strategic plan, which is our kind of like secret weapon planning for summer. And then this spring, there would also be workshops that your ADSY project manager or anyone, honestly, on the leadership team from your LEA could attend. And those workshops would also help you inform the completion of your strategic plan, part 2, which is due in the spring. In between the spring and the fall, there's a really important time, which is January, where we will be asking you to take your 180-day calendar to the board to seek approval. Now, remember, you need an 180-day calendar to draw down on ADSY funds. Execution years would be the following 3 years. So this is a 4-year grant program. The first year is a planning year. The next 3 years are execution year. So summer 22 will be the first possible strong summer program implementation. And then, as I noted before, the execution years look a little different. You're still receiving funds, but they're really designed around the lens of data and continuous improvement. You'll be filling out a reflection or revision document every year, reflecting on your summer program to think through how can we improve this for next year using the data we've received, the feedback from families, etc. So if you're wondering, okay, well, this is kind of interesting, but who really participates in ADSY PEP voluntary summer learning? Well, this past year was our first cohort, Cycle 1. And as you can see from the map above, we have a range of districts, rural and urban, small and large. For example, Betty M. Condra School is a small charter school located in Lubbock. But then on the other end of the spectrum, we have Grand Prairie ISD, a very large school system located in the DFW Metroplex. We have another charter in Ambassadors Prep. This is a single site charter. And then, for example, IDEA Public Schools participated. They're a larger school system, etc. Testimonials. We don't want you to just take our word for it. We want you to hear it from other LEAs. So we received a lot of positive feedback around the networking that's involved in being a part of an ADSY PEP VSL cohort. The sessions that are led by these industry experts, led by these technical assistance vendors, they lead sessions that are listed in the summer learning framework. So there's sessions around student recruitment, climate and culture, budgeting, site operations, things that are really important to plan through for summer. And just had a lot of positive feedback around those sessions, that learning community, and then obviously the funding that districts receive in not only planning, but in execution. And then lastly, ADSY PEP is a really innovative program that's receiving national recognition. You can see right over here, NPR recently covered Grand Prairie ISD's ADSY PEP summer program. And then we've had other outlets across the state, like My San Antonio, the Dallas Morning News, and Click to Houston cover ADSY PEP. The type of districts that have been featured here range from larger districts like Dallas ISD to smaller districts like Judson. Now, it's really important to note that not everyone just gets automatic access to Decision 8 ADSY. You have to qualify for ADSY. And when you read through these qualifications, please note that you don't have to be there today. We just need you to be there after the planning year. So for example, I'm going to walk through them. There's 6 requirements. You have to serve at least 1 grade level in pre-K through 5th grade because this program is designed for elementary school students. You have to have an 180-day instructional day calendar, a campus academic calendar with at least 75,600 operational minutes. And then for ADSY PEP specifically, this is different than ADSY, but for PEP specifically, you have to add 25 to 30 additional half days outside of your 180-day instructional calendar. Next, you have to have a certified teacher deliver at least 3 hours of academic instruction and 3 hours of enrichment on designated ADSY days. So that means that your designated ADSY PEP days are going to be 6 hours long at the minimum, which would be 3 hours of math and reading and 3 hours of enrichment. And then lastly, ADSY days have to be on separate days than instructional days, which makes total sense since we're talking about summer programming. Really quick, we've kind of talked.
Sorry to interrupt. Could you go back to that slide real quick?
Sure.
I just want to, we've had a couple questions in the Q&A around this stuff. And so I want to make sure we're being as clear as we can around these eligibility criteria and how this fits in within TCLAS. So as Shaylin has been mentioning, Decision 8 is around strong summer supports. That means we are supporting you all through a strong planning process in order to implement an evidence-based summer program starting as early as the summer of 22. This planning process will help you lead towards evidence-based summer programming, as well as long-term sustainability through the use of ADSY funds. And so that second piece, the use of ADSY funds, is where these criteria come into play. And that's where that 180-day requirement comes into play, which is an element of the ADSY statute, where the participating campuses need to provide 180 base calendar days before they are eligible to receive additional funding for ADSY days. And so it's just the participating campuses. It's not necessarily, it's not the entire district that would need to do that. And then that is only, as Shaylin mentioned, that's only in the first year of execution where you would be expected to do that. So if you're not there yet, if you're not going to be there in 21, 22, that's not a problem. But we would be looking and helping you plan for making those adjustments starting in the 22, 23 school year, or whatever year you select as your implementation year.
Thanks for the clarification, Brian. We realize it's complicated, but we are here to answer questions. Okay, so we're gonna go back. I talked through really what 8A and 8B and 8C means more on a basic level, but I wanted you guys to see what is it really gonna look like when you go into the TCLAS guidance document, which is a great resource for you and district leadership to be looking at in advance of the TCLAS application opening up. Combing through the different decision points, the different initiatives available, and saying, you know, this is something that our school really needs, and we want to apply. So here's a visual of what you would see if you scroll down to decision 8A, covering, here's a few of the questions. You'll select yes or no. This is page 36 and 37 of the TCLAS guidance document. You'll see the funding awarded in the notes below, some of the vendors that are available. You can, I don't actually know that they're listed on the guidance document, but you can reference the PowerPoint for that information. And again, the technical assistance and learning community support in support 8A is to provide you with support in designing and implementing your summer learning program, which is really huge when we know districts are tight on staff and needing as much help as possible right now. The support of 8B, the project manager salary, again, this is a great resource for districts who want a great summer program. They just need someone to do it. So there's money here that you can leverage, draw down on to hire someone that oversees ADSY. And that will be that liaison working with the TA vendors and providers that you will find in support 8A. You can see the funding amount right here. And again, as you go through this guidance document, you'll see that there's different years that'll request for you to fill out in terms of where you guys are at on a timeline of wanting to implement. And then lastly, I'll note that checking yes for decision 8A and 8B is essentially signing up for ADSY PEP voluntary summer learning. That's just kind of something you should know. If you check out the ADSY webpage on the TEA's website, you can find out more information there as well. And then operational funding, support 8C, which is such a great option we've never had for districts before. It's that last boost for 5 days to get to that 180-day number on your calendar. It is something that you need 180 days, not 8C necessarily, but 180 days are necessary to qualify for ADSY, which is necessary to qualify for TCLAS Decision 8. So again, please check out option 8C if you are needing to extend your calendar to 180 days. Finally, we're going to look at the TCLAS application timeline. We talked about the ADSY PEP timeline and how that's a 4-year grant program, with the first year being a planning grant, the next 3 years being execution. But what does it actually look like to apply to TCLAS and to get the funds? So right now, the application opens on July 19th. It will be open for about a month until August 20th. Again, there's only one application for every decision point in all the initiatives combined. So each LEA will just submit one application, which should be a huge relief in terms of time and effort and delegation on the district end. Next, there'll be a season of TEA reviewing applications, and there'll be a preliminary award amount notification September 10th. So September 10th is when districts should be hearing back, okay, we applied for, these 3 decision points. Did we get the money? What kind of fund did we get, et cetera. In the fall, there'll be a grant negotiation process. And then by December 1st, districts, that is the NOGA tentative date, and districts should receive the funding. Now, a great thing about decision point 8 is that because we are ADSY PEP voluntary summer learning, we have an additional funding source outside of TEA. And those are our gracious partners at the Wallace Foundation and the Communities Foundation of Texas. They do a lot of funding for support 8A and support 8B. So if you end up applying for 8A and 8B and you get that funding, you're likely going to receive it prior to December. But we wanted to put the December date as a conservative estimate so that you can have a realistic idea of the timeline. And then for districts with policies that allow it, pre-award costs will date back to March 1st. So if you receive a grant that covers some of your expenses this summer, you can actually reimburse up to March 1st, depending on the grant that you receive in eligibility. All right, Q&A next steps. Get into the good stuff. Be sure to check out the guidance document. This is such an amazing resource for districts who want to apply to TCLAS, who, they're sitting on this webinar and saying, oh shoot, I really wish my principal was on here or my superintendent, because how am I going to remember all this? Well, 1, it's posted online. And 2, the guidance document is it's a breakdown of the entire TCLAS application so that you can go through and prep before the TCLAS app opens up and you can already identify, all right, we want to apply for these decisions. There's also a budget calculator on there that helps districts calculate their estimated TCLAS award. And then just a note that the application opens up on July 19th. Upcoming TCLAS support opportunities. We have the TCLAS overview webinar, which is posted online. An in-depth review of each support, each decision in the TCLAS webinar. So there's, sorry, in the TCLAS application, there's 10 decisions all listed out in the guidance document. Each of them have a webinar. I'll show you the schedule in a moment, but for any decision you're really interested in, it'd be great to tune into the webinar like you did for today's. And then lastly, there'll be TCLAS office hours the week of July 26th. Here is a schedule of the decision point specific webinars. They're all taking place this week, July 12th. So be sure to tune in and remember that the recordings will be posted online if you're not available during that time. If you're interested in applying for TCLAS, we would love to know. Please complete this 1-minute survey. If you want to go ahead and do that, we would be really grateful. Always helpful to have your feedback. So we can design programs around you guys. And before we head to Q&A, send any questions that you have that are focused around TCLAS specifically to tclas@tea.texas.gov. And then any questions surrounding Decision 8 or ADSY or ADSY PEP, those should go to the ADSY mailbox at adsy@tea.texas.gov. I know I just threw so much information at you. Love to open it up to Q&A. If you have additional questions, please put them in the box. Brian, you want to go ahead and
Definitely
go through some of those?
Yeah, if you want to go back one slide so folks can fill out the interest form with that link. I know it's
Yes,
we don't have a good opportunity to hyperlink that out to folks. So that's the bit.ly. We would love to see the interest level and know who is looking at TCLAS. And so the more that you're able to fill that out, the more information that allows us to plan for that. So please do fill that out if you're looking at any of the supports that we have going on this week. Some great questions coming in. First question is around ADSY specifically. So the requirements name 25 to 30 half days for ADSY and 6 hours of instruction per day. So that is for the requirement for a strong summer program. That is evidence-based, meaning straight from RAND research around what does a high quality summer program look like. And so the question asks, would a 6 hour day then count as 2 half days? No, so ADSY days, the ADSY funding itself is a half day of formula funding for each unique calendar day. And so we are kind of marrying both ADSY and then also what does actual high quality implementation look like. So you would still receive the half day funding from the state funding formula, but each ADSY day needs to be a unique day. Next question, are the additional days for all students or only for those who want to do summer school? So that's a great question. And this is really how your district or down to the campus that is participating wants to design it with a couple caveats. So most programs that we see do target a specific population of students. However, we also do have some programs that are trying to target more across the entire campus. That said, ADSY funding in particular is non-compulsory for students by statute. And so you're not able to mandate that all students at a campus attend a summer program. But we will be prioritizing applications that have a higher percentage of students planning to attend the program. Let's see here. And then Shaylin, could you go back to the 8C slide, the operational funding slide?
Yes.
All right, so the operational funding, this is, as Shaylin mentioned, this is a super exciting opportunity that we have here. One of the ADSY requirements is getting each participating campus needs to have a base calendar of 180 days. And we recognize that most campuses across the state are less than 180 right now. And so there's those gap days that that campuses would need to adjust. Previously, we haven't had funding opportunities for that, but this support 8C helps give additional funding for those opportunities. And so this is for each enrolled student at the campus. So even if you're targeting a subset of students for your summer program, the campus itself still needs to get up to 180 days for all students. And so the operational funding here would be based off of the total enrolled students at the participating campus, not the total students that you're targeting for your summer program. So a good opportunity here for campuses that are looking to make the adjustment. All right. And then if you go back 2 slides to 8A.
Yeah.
So technical assistance support 8A is technical assistance. So funds directly towards going towards those key vendors that we have on the right-hand side of the screen. These are funds that would flow directly to the LEA. So the question was, is the funding for grant funds or is it in kind? So the funds for the technical assistance are grant funds that go directly to the LEA. The learning community support, that's the ongoing kind of sessions that Shaylin mentioned on that timeline slide that we'll have over the course of fall and spring. That is more of an in-kind support. So your project manager and your steering committee would have the opportunity to attend those learning community sessions to build that cohort with other folks across the state who are doing similar changes. And then a question here about CRIMSI. If you're already participating in CRIMSI for summer, CRIMSI is a high quality instructional materials for summer programming, as well as for regular school year. If you're already participating, do you still have to apply for TCLAS? This is just a question that would be pertinent for any of the initiatives that we cover in these TCLAS webinars and in the guidance document. If you are already participating in any of these initiatives, you would still need to apply to this new application to access anything moving forward. And so if you are in a first year of implementation, likely you would be covered by things that your grant already covers. But if you want to start fresh, start a new planning process, start a new summer program, for example, you would need to apply separately through TCLAS. The other thing I do want to highlight here on this slide is that second row here is very, very specific for a small group of districts. That we have 7 districts that are actually eligible for execution funds in 21-22. So if you please reach out to adsy@tea.texas.gov, or also please, we do have office hour opportunities throughout the course of July and August on Wednesdays from 4 to 5 p.m. So take a look at the TCLAS webpage, join those office hours. We're happy to talk through intricacies, as we know there's a lot of information packed into these webinars, especially across 10 different decision points.
Brian, we had one more question come in that says, can schools pay for technical assistance support for vendors that are not on the approved technical list, but are on the blended learning supplemental list? And that's a great question. The answer is these vendors are on the right side of the screen, actually, are approved for Decision 8 only. So if you apply for Decision 8A, which is the technical assistance provider support, then you will need to be matched with only one of these vendors listed to the right, not a vendor from the blended learning supplemental list.
Yeah, Shaylin, I think that's right on. Hey, everybody, my name is Andrew Hodge. I get to work with Shaylin and Brandon, and the team is just kind of helping out with questions that are beyond the scope of this this webinar specifically. I would think of any kind of requirements for individual decisions within TCLAS as requirements for those decisions within TCLAS. So, for example, within this specific decision 8, you're required to participating LEAs are required, as you see there, to engage with one of those technical assistance vendors. That's a requirement for this decision point. Other decision points have their requirements that folks have to follow.
Thanks, Andrew. Do we have any more questions?
One thing that I would like to just flag here or just plug. So Shaylin mentioned a lot of working with external vendor or external folks, experts from across the country. This is a great opportunity to really lean on folks that have done a ton of work around summer learning. This program would not exist. This would not be close to the support that we have without just a number of folks that have put in a lot of work over over years around specifically summer learning. So just calling out a couple of groups, the Wallace Foundation ran certainly the research that this is based off of. The Learning Agenda has done a lot of work around strategic plan design and cohort communities. Texas Impact Network, Community Foundations of Texas. There's just a really robust network of folks that we are able to lean on and work with through this program. And so it's not just like this planning process where you're going it on your own, but it's really an awesome opportunity to work with others who have done this over and over and over and know the ins and outs of what it takes to create a high quality summer program. So just wanted to make sure that we at least mention those folks more explicitly on this webinar as they've been really, really key partners in this work, and we're really excited to continue working with them.
Really good note, Brian. Thanks for sharing. Last call for questions. All right. Well, we are so grateful that you took time out of your summer to join us today. And just note, feel free to send us questions at these emails right here, whether it's about TCLAS or Decision Aid or ADSY. We are happy to help. And we hope you guys have a great summer break and really consider applying to Decision Aid. Take care,
Thanks, everyone.